Vikas, stay on. We're joined by Atul Suri, CEO of Marathon Trends as well, with us, along with Vikas Khemani. And Atul, great having you. Great to have both of you talking about this. Vikas is talking about betting for the long term. This next 5 years is probably not it. The best wealth creation opportunity in front of us. I would love to understand from you, how are you thinking about this possible verdict and how to invest into something like this?
Hi, Neeraj. Hi, Vikas. Nice day to be on there.
I agree completely. Great to have both of you.
Yeah, I know. I know. So yeah, I guess I agree that I think it's phenomenal. Continuity is amazing always for markets. And if you look at the world politics, you'll realize that very few countries, hardly if anybody, has this kind of political continuity. If you look at the countries like the US, you really don't know which president to choose from. UK is turning around. So all over the world, you realize that one thing that is missing is political continuity. And India hopefully not only has it for the next 5 years, that would make it 15 years, but more than that. So I agree that we are actually quite lucky that we are at a time and place as investors where there is political continuity. And having been in the markets for 30 years, I've seen how things have turned around. And that sooner or later also has an impact on markets. As I look at it, I find that apart from the day or two movement, which is mainly because of short covering and various positions people have in the F&O space, I think that what's interesting for me is the agenda for the next 125 days. I think Mr. Modi has been really speaking a lot about it. In fact, he chaired a meeting yesterday also. So I would really look at it seriously. Of course, the market's already betting on some themes, but from what I take away are the 4 or 5 big themes that he is betting for the next 5 years. And that for me as an investor will be an opportunity. One is that I think there are some PSU divestments or some deals that have been stuck, especially in the PSU bank space. So I find that PSU banks will continue to have an opportunity. As unwinding happens, a lot of other stocks also get re-rated. So I think PSU banks would be one area which would be very interesting. Second is electrical vehicles and mobility. I think that is something which the document is going to focus on. We are going to see a lot of policy initiatives there. Of course, the cherry would be if Tesla, which has postponed till after elections, may come in. So you never know. That could actually give a very big trigger to the sector or the sentiment that is playing out. I think e-commerce is also an area which requires certain clarification, the area of taxation, etc. That's going to be a very big wealth creating sector, as we all know it. We are big consumers of it. I think that will be the third area where I think there will be some initiatives in the next 125 days. I think digitization of land records. If you look at it in India, real estate, what is really holding it back is a lot of title issues. There's a lot of problem. And for the real estate sector, this could be honestly what
I'll take one
demonetization
minute.
did to the
Right,
financials.
right.
So I think these are the themes that I feel I would really play out for. And that's where I see action in the next 125 days.
Atul, I mean, you called this before most. At the end of this year, end of last year, you talked about how the markets could be looking at a 15 to 20% upside. We're getting close to that from the way things are moving. Would you, now that this event will largely be behind us in 24 hours, would you go back and rejig your portfolio? Would you take a cash call at this stage? We are an expensive market for whatever it's worth. For all arguments for the market, Vikas is very aggressively nodding his head saying, I am not taking a cash call.
I'm laughing actually.
So that question stands for both of you.
And I'm laughing. So I guess both the reactions
So,
are the same.
yeah, so no cash calls, 100% invested at this stage. Atul, you go first, Vikas, you go after.
No, I see. I'll tell you, in the larger scheme of things, Samina, what's going to happen is all these cash calls are always going to hurt you. You may look smart and pretty at one point in time, but the next time when you get hurt, like if you take a very big cash call pre-election, you realize that today you're chasing a lot of these stocks 5-7% higher, and it's very difficult as a portfolio manager to really catch up with that kind of underperformance. It leads to immense amount of pressures. So I don't think at this time you need to be a hero and take big cash calls. But now speaking beyond just the elections, what I feel is that if you look at it rally globally in equities is phenomenal. Yes, we are having a good time in India, but if you look at the bigger story that is playing out, that actually you'll find that it's a global equity rally that is happening. And this is also very good because we cannot work in an environment where there is a hostility to that asset class globally. If you look at US, if you look at UK, you look at all European markets, if you look at Japan, all are, pushing towards lifetime highs or near lifetime highs. Barring China, I think 90% of equity markets globally are at near lifetime highs. And I guess that itself is a very big contributor. Yes, India would stand out because, as I said, political continuity, a certain market-friendly government, etc., etc. But I feel that even looking beyond just Indian equities or Indian markets or Indian politics, even the world equities are giving you that kind of surge. So I continue to remain very optimistic. Yes, corrections will come. Yes, we will look stupid on some days, but that's okay. I mean, we've spent so many years in the market and look so stupid at times. But in the long run, the wealth has been created by keeping the faith in India. And I do think that we are at a time and space where, it's I think it's never looked better than what it is right now.
Vikas's answer to the valuation question.
And the cash call.
And the valuation naysayers and the cash call, Vikas, because you vociferously, nodded your head. And that's the constant question, isn't it? That is this now an expensive market?
First of all, this is again, I would say, media narrative getting created that, markets are very expensive all the time, and I think let me answer slightly longer way. See, valuation of any asset class is, and I think biggest argument is that yesterday it was trading at 18 times P, today it is 22, 23 times, hence it is expensive. That is the biggest argument. But one has to understand what goes into valuation. There are only three things which goes into valuation: yield, growth in yield, and discounting rate, right? And same is case with equities. Of any asset class, the same is case with equity. In case of equity, yield is ROE, which is one of the best in the world and one of the best in India, right? At around 15-16% level. Secondly, if you see growth in earning, most pessimist person will tell you 15%, optimist person will tell you 20%. Range is somewhere in between. Which are the markets, how many markets grow at this pace and sustainably for a long period of time. And especially these kind of continuity changes which happens, I think you only see acceleration happening in that, not the deceleration. Thirdly, discounting rate, which in turn is a function of two things: risk-free rate and risk premium. Now, risk-free rate, India's risk-free rate is one of the lowest in, if you compare the difference between 10-year US and 10-year India, 1.5% is lowest ever, right? Our risk premiums are coming down as more and more people, and with this kind of, again, outcomes only comes down. So just again, to give you an idea, everything else remaining same, 2% drop in the discounting rate increases equity valuation by 35% approximately. Now, if this is the case, now you can see whether markets are expensive or not. In fact, I have a very strong thesis that Indian equity markets, will trade even expensive from here. And just to give you another sort of similar comparison, when Japan went through a 25-year bull run, which peaked in 1989, at the peak of the market in 1989, Nikkei traded at 60 times P. And Japanese market was 40% of the world global market cap. So, I mean, if your market is one of the best market around happening in the world, that's when I keep on calling again Indian economic miracle. That this is the great journey India is embarking on, going towards developed nation. India will become $40 trillion GDP or 35, that we will see. But I'm saying the journey of accelerated growth over next 10, 15 years looks pretty feasible. If that is the case, then I think, in my opinion, world will not be able to ignore. So combination of earnings growth and liquidity, both will keep on re-rating the market is my strong hypothesis. Hence, I keep on telling people, when you guys call it expensive market, a lot of people get scared, and that impacts their asset allocation. Yes, short term, like Atul was saying, market might correct, possibly. That will happen. That has happened in the past, will happen in the past. But from a long-term asset allocation perspective, I don't think Indian markets are expensive, and one should continue to remain invested into Indian equities.
Defense, Vikas. We call people, the people give the answer about whether it's expensive or cheap. So I'm glad that we got the two best men to talk about this answer today. That will be the narrative from Vikas Khemani and Atul Suri, at least, that this market is not expensive.
And I think it's a more specific question, right? For every stock, every company, every price valuation. Of course, when you come to Indian markets overall, then the upside is something that has been underestimated by the world.
Yeah, but also this whole idea of 22 times is India more expensive than the rest of the world. Sure, it may look that, but the earnings growth is kind of fructifying for that. But, I understand we've run our time out with the guys. Atul Suri at 5 minutes. Vikas gave us 10. Lovely having both of you today. Thank you so much. Atul, I look forward to the longer term conversation with you as well very, very shortly. And Vikas, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate both these answers.